Okay, so if you guys haven't seen my spoiler-free review of Deadpool, definitely check that out. I'll have a link in the description below. But this is complete spoilers. Mostly, I'm not gonna be focusing too much on the story. I really want to talk about all the references and the jokes that they have in this, and it's probably just gonna be me listing off like my favorite references, and I guess they aren't even Easter eggs. If it's Deadpool, it's not really an Easter. Nothing's an Easter egg because it's obvious and um, just starting off with the title, even though it's not even. I guess they're just kind of breaking the fourth wall a little bit, especially the first thing where it's I think it was like God's greatest idiot or something like that, and then they show the picture of Ryan Reynolds. But I love that. That was really great. The opening was fun. But some of my favorite like fourth wall breaking moments, I think the very first one that he truly did was at least within the universe, because this talking to the camera thing, I was like, okay, I expected that, but the real big thing was like, what references is he gonna make about the other comic book, storylines? And my favorite one was the first big one he did, or at least one of my favorites, was when the Colossus had him was like, we're gonna talk to Professor X, and he was like, which one, Patrick or McAvoy? That was one of my favorites. I was like, that was a really good one. Um, Lots of stuff with the Wolverine. I really loved that, like the Pulverine thing in the beginning, and then him having like Hugh Jackman's face stapled onto his face. That I thought was really funny, and I wasn't expecting it. One night when they first did that, and she took the mask off, the way it was cut, I thought he had like a little paper Iron Man thing on his face. That's what I thought they were gonna show, and then it was even better because it was just Hugh Jackman's face on top of his face. So that I thought was really funny. Um, Probably the best one though, I think, was when he went to the Xavier mansion. He's like, man, it's a big house. It's crazy. I only see the two of you. It's like studio couldn't afford another actor, and he's like already walking off screen when he's saying it. That I think was the best one out of the whole movie. That had to be my favorite one. But I love all their little references. They do Daredevil when his friends like trying to come up with names. He's like he calls him Scaredevil. I guess it's a reference to Captain America when he calls himself Captain Deadpool. But those I thought were pretty good. Of course, um, the X Men Origins version of Deadpool. Of course, that was really great, and they have like the little twenties, like I hit rock bottom, and it was about the worst it could be. I was like, well, maybe not exactly the worst, and it's just a toy of the crappy Deadpool. Um, they had like three different versions of the Green Lantern thing, which really surprised me because I thought the only one was going to be the one we got from like the very first trailer that even leaked at Comic Con, where he's talking about don't make the super suit green or animated. I thought that would be our only Green Lantern thing, and then we got the opening shot where they have like the little card floating and it's someone just like this dressed like the Green Lantern. And there was something else he said in there. I couldn't remember exactly what it was, but I'm pretty sure there was like a third Green Lantern reference. And I was like, man, they are really just like crapping all over that. And I thought that was just really funny because I thought we'd only have that one joke of, about the Green Lantern thing. And it was like, no, they did it about two or three different times in the movie. So I thought that was actually really cool. Um, I definitely loved the action and the way they did the like him with the martial arts and stuff, and just he did like so many spins. I was like, man, he spends a lot in this movie, but it was really cool. Like he just the way they did it, where he was like landing on his feet. I was like, man, that actually looked really sweet because I always thought there were a couple of different times where I was like, okay, he's gonna try to spin, but he's not gonna make it. He's gonna like get hit or something. But he'd spin and dodge everything, and he'd still manage to land on his feet and do like a full swing. I was like, I didn't think he'd land fast enough, but of course it's CG, and so they can kind of speed up how fast he spins. And I thought it just looked really cool when they were doing that. And towards the end, um, like when he chopped the guy's head off and then he like kicked it into another guy's head, that was a cool move he did. Colossus in this movie was pretty awesome. I love the fact that Colossus got his own fight scene, honestly, because Colossus in the X Men movies didn't have much. He was introduced in X2, and then in X3 he was in like that ending fight scene, and he did like a couple of things, but I felt like he still didn't really have like much. And I was really glad to see that he was in this movie so much. It was really cool. The only downside to it is the fact that it wasn't the same actor as the X Men movies, and that's why, for anyone who may not have known this, that's why he's in his Colossus form the whole time. Like that's why he's like that in the taxi, because of course, in that scene, I'm sure a ton of people are like, why is he like that if he can just be human? The reason is because it was a different guy acting as Deadpool or acting as acting as Colossus. So that's why he's always and that's what That's why he's a CG character. That's why he had that title in the opening. So, that's why he's always Colossus, and it's never just him in his human form. It's because it was a totally different guy, which I think is a little unfortunate. And I remember hearing something like he had the opportunity, but like he didn't want to do it, or he couldn't do it, or it was just something that I can't really remember. So I don't want to say like, oh, he just was like F it. But I'm pretty sure that's what it was, is that he chose not to do it at the time or something like that. But that's like really the only thing that sucked about it being different, because even just the way they did the CG on him, of course he looked different too. So that was like the only thing. I was like, oh, it sucks that it can be the other guy, because that would just be really cool. Obviously they're already tying him in. He's meeting the X-Men, so they're already, it's official that he's connecting with the X-Men, and they're doing that however they're doing it. I don't know, because it's not official. It's not the Marvel expanded universe, so I don't know what they're doing with it. But at least those movies, can kind of blend together at some point. But that was really cool getting to see them and seeing Negasonic with especially at the end. I loved when she used her power and it burned her jacket away, and she actually had like an X-Men uniform on. And I think that was a bit of a reference, because that was like some really old school looking outfit to me. I was like, that looks like the very first issue comics, where basically they were in like the full suits, and it'd be like some giant chunk of it was of course yellow. I mean, that's obviously their initial costumes in general, but I was like, that's definitely kind of an old school style. It wasn't, it was nothing like the X-Men, movies from the past, where they have like the black and then, like a line that goes through it to, show their color or whatever. It was like, nope, here's a full on top half, like yellow, up to arm pads, is, straight yellow, arms are black, pants are black. So I think that was a bit of a reference to like the old school style of the uniform. So that was actually very awesome to me. Her powers, of course, were really cool. Just getting to see her do that, that was pretty fun. But I certainly loved all the silly stuff they did. Um, one of my other favorite parts, the fourth wall thing, is when he did the flashback and he was like, "Whoa, fourth wall break within the fourth wall." It's like 16 walls. And the funniest thing about that is, like, as soon as he said it was 16, I was like, why is he multiplying? That was like the first question in my head, was why did he multiply, the walls? I was like, that was weird. It was funny that I even bothered to think that, like, why is he multiplying? Why didn't he add that? But that's what popped into my head after he was like, that's like 16 walls. But I certainly loved that. I loved all the characters were really good in this one. Um, One of my favorite things, honestly, is the fact that they had a blind character who was like the least capable blind person I've ever seen in media before. Because she's like, she has pills. It's like, oh, they touch the table, whatever, and they just drop on the floor. She's like tripping on stuff, and it's just like, wow, this is this most ridiculous thing ever. And it's like she's just incapable of functioning as a blind person. And she sets up, the whatever they were calling it, the actual thing, but I'm just gonna call it like, an armoire, whatever it's supposed to be called. But like she does that, and of course it falls apart. But everything else she did was like she's tripping or something's there, and she's just not bothering to actually know exactly where it's at. And I just love the way they played that. And it was like, that's just really funny, because any other time, someone's blind, excluding, Daredevil, of course, they're always like, all right, this is exactly where everything is. And she was just like the total opposite of that. It would be like me just walking around with a blindfold on and not having something memorized, and it's just stuff all over the place. And it's just like, all right, drop that. Oh, well, tripped over this and stuff. But I like their relationship because it was just silly, and they just say stuff to each other. It's like it was nothing. So I certainly loved her character. I really want to see more of her, honestly, and just how she and Vanessa kind of get along, because all three of those characters are pretty crazy. So I'd like to see that if they spend a lot of time with them, which I'm sure they'll spend at least some time in the sequel with them in that house. I'd love to see that happen, because I feel like that would just be really freaking funny. Like Deadpool and her, the old woman, are arguing, and then Vanessa's trying to break them up, but she might team up with the old woman at some points, or might team up, with Wade at other points. So I think it would just be funny to watch that in the next movie. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. Definitely loved the ending scene. If you guys didn't know, there was an ending scene. I kind of wish I mentioned that in my normal review, just so in case people were wondering. But the ending scene was really cool. If you haven't seen it, I'm obviously about to talk about it. But the ending scene, I really loved the fact that they chose to do a Ferris Bueller thing. That was actually really awesome. I thought they were gonna do. I thought it was just gonna be an exclusive clip of the next X-Men movie. Honestly, I thought it would just be, here's something that's coming out for this, or a scene from the movie, and instead they do a really awesome fourth. Probably the most memorable fourth wall breaking moment in all the movies. To be totally honest, is probably from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and it's that ending clip. It's that ending scene from the film where he walks out. It's like, oh, you're still here, and I mean that whole movie is him talking to the camera, but that ending scene is just like it comes after all the credits and all that stuff, and it was just really cool. It's like that's a great way to do it, to reference one of the most popular fourth wall breaking movies that has ever been created. That was kind of the perfect way to end it. Like that makes so much sense to reference that type of movie. And just do the whole scene basically like, oh, you're gone, or you're still here. And I don't know if it was because I haven't seen that movie in forever, but that did look like almost the exact hallway. I mean, it was probably a set. I know they used an actual house in the film for Ferris Bueller, but I think they actually made a set to look exactly like that hallway from the movie. And like I said, I haven't seen the actual movie in so long, so I don't remember what the hallway looked like. But I do remember it was kind of a bright hallway. It was like white and stuff like that with the sort of really dark gray, I guess. So I don't know if that was the actual set, where they probably just rebuilt it, because why would they have that for Ferris Bueller? But I thought that was really awesome, and it looked very similar, if it's not the exact same creation as the original film. So that was really awesome, and I loved just the way that they did that, and the fact that they talked about the sequel, because they knew that it was going to be happening before they did the movies. Like, we're doing a sequel, and Cable and stuff. So loved that. Really excited for Cable to come into the series. But something I thought about, I was talking about this with my girlfriend, because she didn't remember who Cable was, and we were talking about it, and then it made me remember that Cable was in Days of Future Past as a black guy, and I totally forgot that. I was like, what? It didn't even dawn on me watching that movie, because he had such a minute role, because it was just Days of Future Past, so they kind of had to just throw Cable into it, and it never dawned on me, like, Cable was a black guy in that. And Cable, for anyone who doesn't know, is actually Scott and Jean's son, so that's why he's always white. So unless he was adopted in this universe, he should probably be white. That's one of those things where it's like, they've already shown that both these characters are white. It's not like, the Fantastic Four, where, it could be like, the twins are mixed or something like that. It's like, no, Jean and Scott are both white, and then Cable showed up, and it's like, black guy with dreads. So I'm sure they're going to ignore that, because they've already wiped away, basically all the films anyway, and that future's completely gone since Days of Future Past, and they fixed everything. So who knows? Maybe he'll become a white guy somehow. I don't know. They might even talk about that. Now that I think about it, they might mention that in the next Deadpool movie. Like, you were black before. That's weird. Timelines. But I'm excited to see him come into the movies, because, well, aside from Days of Future Past, Cable didn't have much. I mean, and he's an awesome character too. And I'm really curious how they're going to do the time travel stuff, because, since we're already getting Apocalypse, it's like that's kind of where Cable originates a bit, and then all the craziness that goes on with him and Deadpool. So I don't know where what they're gonna do with it, but I'm definitely excited. I'll be curious to see if they do more, a bit more of a crossover with the X-Men, because it's gonna end up being Cable, and typically if someone's coming through time, it should involve quite a few people. So we might get Colossus back. They might switch someone out, and we might have Cable and still get, another X-Men, which I think would be pretty cool. But we'll just have to wait and see. But it was definitely a great movie. Action was super good. I mean, there aren't too many things I can really think of to kind of pick out outside of, like when he cut the guy's head off and kicked it. And then just some of the other obvious stuff, like, of course, the opening scene, which is taken from, like, the old test footage. Of course, I knew that was going to be really fun, and when he was counting the bullets down and stuff, that was a cool scene, but we kind of knew how that was going to play out, because it was the opening shot, and they'd shown some of that through, like, the trailers, like, because everyone knew, like, alright, they're using the test footage stuff, so it made sense that they made that, like, their opening shot, like, here it is, this is, what got us here, so that's what opened with it, so certainly enjoyed that. The thing when he was like killing a bunch of people, then he met his buddy that he didn't know for a long time, and it was like, Bob, and that I thought was really funny too. It's like, oh, how about that? And then he just headbutts him because he doesn't want to kill his old friend. I did like that scene; that was pretty cool. But it was a fun movie. It was really good. Actually, one thing that I thought was really weird in the movie. There are two parts that this happened, and it was when they first showed the school, and when they showed the X-Jet getting up in the air. That footage looked super old to me, and I'm pretty sure, I feel like that was taken from the original films, and it was like they just edited in, the jet like going up over the school, because that's what it looked like to me. It looks randomly, I was like, this looks super grainy to me for some reason, and it looked really different from the rest of the footage. And then, here's the jet and everything, because they go up like right up to the plaque and everything like that. And of course, when he's at the school, it's obviously CG. Like you can tell when Teenage Warhead, when she opens the door, it looks CG behind her. So they're not actually at any sort of mansion in any way, shape, or form. At least if I remember right, it was fairly CG. So that was pretty interesting. I was like, that looks like it's just footage from the old movie. They just took some stills or some spots where you couldn't see any people in, and then they just put in the jet in the background and it flies up. And then when they were on the big ship at the very end, which I thought for sure they would reference in some way, where Deadpool would be like, "Is this one of the helicarriers or something?" Because that's what it looked like. I was like, "Why is this giant ship just randomly destroyed for no reason?" I thought they'd talk about it or have a little reference to Shield. But when Deadpool killed all the people and he spelled out Francis's name, that footage looked so freaking weird to me. It was like, it was obviously green screen that they put the clips together, but it looked super grainy to me. It was like really weird. I was like, that footage looks like it's from the 1980s because it just looks super grainy, and you could see. I totally forgot the villain's name. Francis, though. I remember Francis, or Ajax. That's what he was going with. And I was hoping when he said his name was Ajax, I was like, I hope they make a reference to the Warriors, but that never ended up happening. Um, but when they're looking down, it's him and I guess it was Vanessa next to him, or it was Vanessa because the woman had already been fighting Colossus. But when they were looking down, I was like, it just looks so super grainy and weird to me. I was like, that just looks off. It was really weird to me. So those were like two things I noticed. Like I could easily be wrong, and it just either way it looked super weird to me. It wasn't that I was seeing it wrong, because I could, especially at that second part, I was like, because you could see them and they looked like super crisp and in focus, and then you look at that footage and it's like it doesn't even look like the. I don't know what it was. It just looked crazy and grainy to me. It was really weird, but I definitely wanted to mention that because those were two things that really caught my attention. Like, I'm pretty sure this is from the old X-Men movies, or it just looks really weird, and that just plain looked weird. It was like, I could see everything. It was like it was Deadpool and Francis, but I was like, that just looks super weird to me, and I don't know what was going on during those scenes, but if it was the X-Men stuff, that kind of makes sense because they are technically using old footage. But that thing was like, that was literally made for this movie, and it just looked super weird the way it came out to me. But I don't know. We also had some weird stuff happen when I went to see the movie. The first trailer we got was in 3D, so I don't know. That could have been something that was happening, but that doesn't really make any sense. That wouldn't be the case. But that was weird. I'd never seen that happen before. Like, our first trailer was Civil War, and it was in 3D, and everyone was like, "Oh, is this? They're playing the wrong thing." But then the next trailer was fine. It was like, "Oh, I didn't think that could even happen," but it did. But those are some of my big moments I wanted to talk about for the movie. I was glad that they mentioned Batman and Robin. I thought that was pretty cool because, of course, that would never happen with anyone else. But it's Deadpool, so we got to hear him talk about, totally, the DC universe. I was like, that I just loved because that would never happen with anyone else. So I was glad that that happened. It was such a minor thing. It's like, she's she's the Robin to my Batman. That's the thing people say all the time, but you can't really generally say that if you're inside of the Marvel Universe. So that I was really happy about. Movie in general, definitely well done. Of course, I definitely want to know your favorite parts, your favorite references and fourth wall breaking moments. Um, Favorite action moments as well. I mentioned in my spoiler-free review, I was really glad to see Colossus had a great fight. That I thought was really fun. It was fun to watch that. He got tossed around. The part where he got mad, I really loved because he was like, "All right, she's punching the crap out of me. I'm gonna just have to like lift her up and slam her and toss her into stuff." I was like, he's getting. It was kind of like the Hulk or something because he has that type of strength or close to it. and he was just like slamming her into the ground and just punching her and stuff, and then tossing her away. That I thought was really cool. And then of course like her boobs out and stuff. He's like, oh, you know, like cover up, and then she just destroys him in the nuts. I was like, that is really messed up. But I was glad to see him get like a really cool fight. Negasonic had a, you know, her powers were really cool, and just charging at people, and just like, you know, she basically set off a nuke. She charged up like completely to the max, and I was like, that was probably not the best plan, just because she didn't know what was going on the top of the ship. But it was still really awesome to see that. And of course, Vanessa surviving was oddly unrealistic inside of an unrealistic film, but it was weird that she survived like it was nothing when she fell out of the thing in the tube. And, you know, even though, of course, the tube could be strong enough to survive that, she wasn't like strapped down or anything. This, you know, me and my girlfriend were talking about it. She was like, she would have had something broken, and that's definitely true. Like, I mean, she could have held on to, I guess, the little bed or something, but even when it slammed down, that would have done something to her. But she was just like, you know, they found her, and she just like got up and was like, everything's perfect. But yeah, like, I don't, who cares? Like, we knew she was gonna survive it, so it was weird to begin with. The fact that he put her in, that was like, that doesn't make sense to me, but I know she's gonna make it, so whatever. It's a comic book movie, and it's Deadpool. Like, comic books and then a Deadpool movie is like, you just gotta let everything go, honestly. But I certainly love this film. It was definitely great. Like I said, though, want to know your favorite, you know, fourth wall breaking moments. Whether it was just him talking to the camera in general, or a reference to like the other universes, or just other films within the universe, or, you know, the Batman Robin thing. But definitely want to know your favorite, like, just big moments, or even little moments, you know, that are a part of the film. Opening, I think everyone has to love the opening because it was great. Like, no one does that. It's always, it's this person, and this person specifically, not asshats and the real heroes here and stuff like that. So that was just really great. And I just love the CG, just the way it went through all the crazy motion, and then when it got to the part where it was just like Deadpool's crotch in a guy's face or something in slow motion. So all of that was really good too. But like I said, I want to know your favorite parts, so please comment below and let me know. And thanks for watching.